Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Ishaan, and welcome to TrepTalks. This is a show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Ishan Dutta to the show. Ishan is the founder and CEO of Ugly Duckling. Ugly Duckling sells hair color and hair products to hairdressers and colorists. And today I'm going to ask Ishan a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tech that he has used to start and grow his business. So Ishan, thank you so much for joining me today at TrepTalks. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sushant. It's a great honor.
So very interesting business. Maybe before we talk about the business, maybe you can talk a little bit about yourself. How long have you been an entrepreneur and what were you doing before? And what kind of really got you interested into entrepreneurship and specifically starting this, hair products business?
Sure. Well, so I've been an entrepreneur for about 8 years now. I started in 2016. I'm not super young, so I've been around for a while. I've had a fairly long corporate career in sales and marketing. And prior to that, I had an MBA. So very typical corporate background. I was lucky enough to join the company L'Oreal out of business school, and I stayed with them for 10 years. And that's where I learnt a lot of marketing and sales and business, and of course, hair products, because I was involved very closely in hair products, both selling on the commercial side and also for a while also in product formulation and marketing. So that is really where I'm coming from. After that, after L'Oreal, I worked for various other multinationals. I moved around the world. I ended up in Singapore, where I was for many years. But I was always looking to start something on my own. And I should say, the older I got, the more I was keen. I enjoyed it, but the more I got older, the more I was keen to do something on my own. So this is a kind of very, I would say, fundamental urge I had in my body and mind, and that's why I was looking around. And then, I thought it would be the best thing. And in fact, that was what my wife suggested. She said, "Why don't you stick to what you know? Why don't you do something in the hair product line?" So that's what I did. That's how I started this business.
I mean, entrepreneurship is definitely a noble urge, noble cause to get into. I think it benefits everybody. I mean, entrepreneurs usually do it because they want the freedom and flexibility to do what they want, what they find they're passionate about, and so forth. And also, of course, if the business is successful and grows, it helps build the economy, employ other people, and so forth. So definitely a great endeavor. So now, do you consider I mean, it seems like you are kind of a direct competitor for L'Oreal.
Yes.
So you're selling mostly hair color products, right? Can you talk a little bit about your products?
Yeah, look, so I'm not really a direct competitor, to be honest. And L'Oreal is a huge company. It would be ridiculous for me to compare myself to them. Nevertheless, yeah, we're competing for the same space. But the way it worked out is, firstly, I was quite early in one of my ideas was trying to use the internet to find it, because I've been involved in very classical marketing teams. I ran Salesforce to cover hairdressers, teams of like 100 salespeople, and I did that for many years, and I know how to do that. But I got a gut feeling that the internet was going to change that particular business model, and that it was a very expensive way of contacting hairdressers and educating them, and developing the market. That was my gut feel after all the years I've been in L'Oreal. So that, in a way, I said, look, let me try and do something a bit different. Let me try and use the internet. And then when I got into the business, I started with a regular range. Particularly because I was on the internet, I could be very responsive to bits of the market which were not being covered sufficiently well. And I was lucky. I reached out to hairdressers online, and some hairdressers were very, very helpful. And I quickly realized, I didn't have to be a genius. It was literally told to me that blonding market was a place where there was really, I would say, dissatisfaction with the products, and that includes L'Oreal products. I don't want to go too technically. You're not necessarily a fashion person, not necessarily all your audience are at that level of detail, but to give you an idea, there's been a big move from warm colors to cold colors. People want to go very white, ash blonde. If you live in Toronto, you've probably seen that trend there. People don't want, 20 years ago, it used to be very golden blonde, and the products haven't really matched. And then the people want to go lift. They want to lift the product, lift the hair color. So these kind of things, without getting too technical, on the one hand, there was the internet, and on the other hand, there was products which could target this niche, which I felt had a lot of potential. So that was a kind of the two things I've kind of moved into. It was not all, the internet thing was there from the beginning, but the product space was something that I felt my way into, hearing response from the market as I arrived. And so I launched more and more products in that area, tried to bring niche products and develop that bit of the market. So that's kind of how I position myself against L'Oreal. As I said, once again, it's a bit of a ridiculous question because L'Oreal is not ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept because L'Oreal is a very big company.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for them, and we are very small, but there's plenty of space for both of us. I'm sure.
For sure. I think, every successful endeavor starts small, right? So you can, of course, you're small today. I mean, there's never a limit. Maybe in the future you will be a direct competitor, but I think a lot of the times the challenges from a bigger brand would only come when you start growing, right? When they start seeing you as a threat. As long as you're a niche player, as long as you're small, you're not you're not on their radar. But once you start going big, I think that's when like the bigger brands, if they want to give you some challenge or
Absolutely. We have to be fast enough to get traction before that. And by the way, it's fun being small. It's plenty of fun being small. I've never had a problem with that.
Yeah, for sure. So your in terms of your audience, you said you're catering primarily to the stylists, but you are online. So if a person wants to buy their own product, they can go and purchase it directly on the website as well. In terms of your sales model, like you market to stylists and then the stylists go on your website and purchase the products, or is it a different model where you're kind of working directly with a one-to-one sales model and then you're selling them?
No. We market directly off our website. So we do expect our customers to be hair colorists. If people give us sufficient proof that they're a stylist, they have a license, etc., we give them very good pricing and special access. So they see price and deals which a non-qualified cosmetologist would not necessarily see. So in the US, there's many people, Canada as well, who the area between being a professional stylist and then having a cosmetology license but not practicing anymore. A lot of people come in and out of the trade, and then also being very proficient with at-home coloring using professional products. It's kind of it's more fluid than you might think. So yeah, that's our market is people who are fairly knowledgeable, fairly good with their hands, fairly wanting a very good professional result. It's not kind of out of the bottle, retail pack type of coloring. So as long as people are comfortable with that kind of product, which gives slightly more fashionable or precise results, we are happy to talk to them. So probably as far as we can see from the stats, about 50% are indeed working in a salon, and the rest have some relationship with, they've probably been a stylist, they've got a license, but they're probably doing more home-based work. Yeah.
So from a business point of view, of course, you found this sweet spot right now. in the future, like, is your plan to continue to just stay with the hair color product items, or are you slowly kind of expanding your business to have other hair products? Like, I know recently I spoke with another entrepreneur who has a huge hair extensions business in the US.
Oh, interesting.
Are you thinking about other products as well, or this is kind of this is where you want to
But
specialize?
it's funny. It's funny you should mention that, because hair extensions is specifically a niche which I realize is growing like crazy, because one of the big trends is women want to have long hair, and it's a niche. We've actually launched products there. We're still pretty young in that area, so it's something that I intend to return to and attack in a much bigger way in next year itself. So that's one area. I think hair color will always be hair color, and particularly blonding hair color and fashion hair color. It's great to sell on the internet because you can show the before and after really, really well. So it's very easy to market that. So we've also launched hair care products. Again, linked to not general hair care, but like we've got two lines at the moment. One is purple toner for blonde women who want to keep their hair white. And then we've launched a product with Bond Protect to strengthen hair which has been bleached. So again, quite targeted. So we would like to launch hair extensions. We would like to launch more hair care products, but they will always be quite targeted hair care products, at least for now. Maybe a scalp line, maybe a therapy line. That would be one thing. Eventually, we would like to get into other beauty products. There's nails, there's skin, but we have to think of the right way of attacking that market. But I do think we will get there eventually. Yeah.
Okay. So from an entrepreneurship perspective, when you got into it, can you talk a little bit about your process of launching the business? What kind of investment did go into? I'm assuming when you were working at L'Oreal, you kind of had learned around, who the suppliers are, who what the right products are, and so forth. Or is that something that you had to figure out when you kind of got started?
The thing is, I was in general management. I was not necessarily in, so I knew a lot about trends and products, but I had to look around. I had to look around for suppliers. So I had an idea of a brand. I found a brand name. I registered that brand name. And then I started looking around for suppliers who could produce the products I was looking for. And we found in the end, Europe was a good place. We found some quite good manufacturers. The ecosystem in Europe in the cosmetic industry is quite well developed. And that's how we sourced, we tested. It took about a year. Tested the products live, tweaked some of them. In the beginning, we launched a fairly, as I said, a reasonably standard Me Too range, but progressively, we've been requesting our suppliers to formulate specifically for us, specific formulations with, liquid. Now we're going to liquid color, which we think is a big trend, with Bond Protect built in, different color types. So they're now very specific colors, but we had to go down the route of just looking from scratch. Yeah.
So in terms of
go ahead, sorry.
In terms of like differentiation in the product itself, of course, I'm sure there are bigger brands. I'm sure there are other brands as well that are known to the stylists. How do you differentiate your products? What is different about your colors that people don't find in other brand products or other niche products? Is it really about the shade of? I mean, I know you mentioned the shade is a component. Is it about the quality or how durable these colors are in terms of longevity? Is it some sort of a business aspect, like customer service, or the way you're conducting business there? So how are you differentiating your business from everything else in the market?
So that's a really great question. I mean, we thought very carefully about the brand, about what the brand would represent, the brand values. So that was the first point, and I think we've stayed fairly true. We've articulated those brand values more clearly over time. So that's very important. We try to be fashion, but we're not a grunge, we're not a funky product. We are sophisticated beauty. So there's a kind of brand values which by now customers recognize. That's one part of this, the starting point of the differentiation. You mentioned customer service. The online aspect has been very useful. We found that we are very reactive to customers, and we encourage that. People want to know, hey, I bought this product. How do I use it? I want to get, my hair's looking like this. And they send us a picture. And we reply back. So, and we say, use this. So that customer service component has become very important. If you look at reviews of our brand, people do mention customer. They say, wow, the customer service is just amazing. So nobody is actually doing what we're doing. It sounds very simple, but nobody's actually doing what we're doing. So we give a lot of customers we don't treat the customer like idiots. We give them quite specific. Again, I don't think many people are doing that because in America, it's such a market, people just sort of one size fits all marketing. So that's component part 2. And then comes the products. As I said, not every product is necessarily unique, but progressively our key star, cosmetics is about star products. It's a bit like, you and me are Indians, so we can talk about cricket. It's like you hit and you keep hitting, and then suddenly you hit that 6. You get that spot, you suddenly hit. Cosmetics business like that. You've got to find those star products which suddenly start giving you those runs. And then you've got to really figure out when something is doing well in marketing, you could figure out what's so great about it. Sometimes you even yourself don't know. So we speak a lot to hairdressers. That's again the beauty of being online. We have a network of hairdressers who produce content for us. We've created that network over time, and we're always in touch with them. And we're talking to either myself or the customer service manager. We're talking to them and say, what did you like about it? Hey, how did you use this product? And then we're trying to learn, and then we try and create more products like that. So it's quite a few of our, if you take in value, not in units, but if you take in value, most of the sales now comes from our star products, the products which really are quite unique. So it'd be difficult for me to describe in general, they're all like this rather than that. No, but if I take product by product, like for example, I'll give you one of our, it's called Intense Pearl Blonde Toner. It's the only tone on the market which lifts and tones at the same time. And it produces a very pearl blonde color result, which really is unique. So when a woman sees that result, gets a result on her own hair, they won't go somewhere else. They have to come back to us. They want to come back for that specific result. So that's an example. So yeah, we've now moved towards fairly unique products. Yeah.
Is there any, once you find that hero product or the star product that you mentioned, these are really chemicals, right? Like these are chemical formulations. Can they be copied? So, if a competitor knows that, yes, this is the trend in the market now, this is what the consumer wants in terms of colors, and how easy is it to replicate it? And is that a threat to your competitive advantage? Or is there a way to kind of patent that color?
So, no, in the cosmetics business, there's very little patenting going on because people move too fast. The whole goes too fast, and there is a fair amount of copying. But luckily for me, in the hair color business, you'd be surprised how it's not the most dynamic industry in a certain way. You've got, again, to take L'Oreal or Wella, some of the big players, their formulations have not changed in 30 years. So they could do that, but they haven't done that. So they launch new stuff, but then they don't really go out there and they're not very aggressive, I would say. And there's reasons for that, because they have a different business model. Having the stability of this product produces this result, that's important for them because that's how they get that mass effect. So they're not really keen on changing their formulations too much. So there is a kind of a certain inherent stability in the market, and we kind of fight that because we have a different model, which is internet based. And don't forget, there's things like, because we're internet based, we've got one warehouse, so our stock is in one place. So for us to change a formula or launch is very easy. Whereas a big player, they'll have stock all over the place. To even replace a shade is quite complicated and quite expensive. And then you get distributors saying, "Oh, you've replaced a shade. I want you to buy back my old shade." So it gets quite complicated. So the whole thing makes the industry fairly not old-fashioned, but not the most dynamic in terms of. So far, nobody has jumped on and copied us in that way.
Okay. I mean,
And
one
again,
thing that
quite small, yeah. So it's probably another reason.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I find as e-commerce has boomed and as the whole trend of, direct to consumer and, people creating their own brands has boomed over the last, I would say, 10, 15 years now. It has definitely become easier for, people to come up with a brand or a product that somehow they have identified, or they have found some sort of a competitive advantage, and kind of sell that directly to the consumer. What do you know about fashion industry or this hair care, hairstyling industry? Is it relatively easy to kind of break into now? If there is an influencer, let's say, they started their YouTube channel, they have 1 million people following them, and they decide that they want to launch a hair color brand or even one product, right? In terms of getting the product itself, I think it would be relatively straightforward. Is there opportunity for a lot of these kind of small brands in the market, or what else do you know about the hairstyling industry that can make one brand successful versus another? Or is it that, if you are an old player, big player like L'Oreal, like you have that competitive edge that, no new brand can take away?
Those are really, really great questions. So there are brands coming out the whole time. There are brands coming out the whole time. I don't think the hair industry, the professional hair industry, I don't think it's been the easiest market for established players over the last 20 years, because there has been fragmentation. The market has not exactly gone in the way of the big players. And there are certain reasons for that. In the industry, stylists increasingly in the US, they buy their own products. It's not like the salon buys the products and employs stylists to use. In America, in Canada, increasingly, each stylist is a booth renter, rents a chair, and she or he decides what products they want to use. So they're quite open to trying out new things. So there have been a lot of new products coming on, a lot, to be quite honest. So I would say, yes, it is quite easy to enter this market. It is one market to enter. It's not easy to find that crack, that opportunity, but I see entrepreneurs doing it the whole time. I can name a couple of products which have come out. There's one which is on social media quite a lot called It's a 10. She started with one product and stuck it onto Amazon, and it just blew out. And I remember my niece telling me, "Have you, you're in hack, have you tried product?" I said, it have to be different. Influencers, I don't think it's as simple as finding influencers these days as it was. I think the market has changed a lot. When I started 2016, Facebook was huge then, and the behavior of people with regards to influencers was very, I won't say naive, but very fresh and spontaneous. And I was lucky enough at that time to, as you say, to meet an influencer. Her name's Elena Taki. She's a hairdresser, a very, very talented hairdresser. She befriended me and made videos and content for our product. And it was amazing at that time because it was like she would make a video. And I'd say to my wife, "Oh, Elena's just made a video," and I'd go to sleep, and I would know this would happen. Next morning, I'd have thousands of people visiting my website and just lift the product out of it. And once I remember she made an amazing video. I was traveling in the US at the time. I was going from LA to Detroit to visit her, in fact. And I just had some new stock in, and I boarded a plane, so I wasn't on the phone. And I arrived in the evening. I went to the bar, ordered a glass of wine, put on my phone, and I'm getting this email saying, "What have you done? The stock has disappeared." I thought, what? All the stock had disappeared in the course of the time I'd been flying on a plane. I don't think that happens so easily anymore. Wow. I don't think it works in the same way. Because in the early days, it worked without advertising even. We didn't even advertise on Facebook. And then we went to a stage, okay, let's advertise on Facebook with the videos, with the influencer content. And that worked very well. But I could see progressively, 2018, 2019, the rates went up. And then gradually I saw the reaction of people became less and less and less. So it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but you have to have a very strong point of differentiation. And it's not so simple anymore with influencers. This is my personal experience, but maybe
the reason for that is that the viewer has kind of become desensitized. The viewer kind of knows that, you know, the likely reason an influencer is pushing a product or promoting a product is because they're getting paid. And of course, you know, there's probably more competition for influencers.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. I mean, do you remember those days, 2016, when our friends says, "Oh my God, my friend is on Facebook," and say, "Oh, hi, I haven't seen you for a long time." It was a different era. That was only 7 years ago, but people don't, who is on Facebook anymore, to be quite honest. So it has changed. It is a different era. Yeah. Socially, people behave differently with regards to social media, I would say. Yeah.
For sure. I believe you mentioned that your products are manufactured mostly in Europe.
Yes.
And that's because, you know, that's where you have the most, I guess, expertise in terms of creating these kind of colors and so forth. Have you ever considered, you know, going to Asia, China, because you can get better pricing and so forth? Or, you know, the primary reason for that is that the quality is not what you want?
So in our case, China is very good, but they're not. One of the things about the European infrastructure is that they're very good at formulating new stuff. They've got, it's in the cosmetic industry, it's not necessarily the manufacturing, it's the formulation of the new product. So they have that skill set to formulate very quickly, and they also have small sizes. In China, they can make things cheaply, but they want very big runs. So that combination of formulation and small sizes, I found only Europe has. But that's in the cosmetic industry. There's, obviously tons of things which are being made in China. But that difference in cost is not as huge as it used to be 10, 15 years ago, because the minimum wage of a worker in Shenzhen or Guangzhou, I mean, I used to live in Singapore, is almost 600 euros a month. Minimum wage in Portugal is about there, you know. So it's textile industry people now, you've heard about this close near sourcing. People have moved a little bit away from China in that sense. So anyway, the prices were quite okay, and it was that savoir-faire, that knowledge I needed. So yeah, China was not. We used China for some of the kind of color, plastic materials like color accessories, bowls, things like that, but not for any products. And even then, we're a small company, so we have to look at the supply chain. If we are buying from a European manufacturer, we also don't want bottles being made in China. Then we have to ship the bottles, empty bottles, by ship. So we get them made also in Europe. So our packaging is also made in Europe.
Yeah, I'm assuming China, at least from like a human labor point of view, will only become less competitive as we go, because, of course, China is becoming more of a developed nation slowly, and people's quality of life is improving, which is a great thing. And I think maybe some of these manufacturing industries will start moving at some of the other countries like India, or maybe even
Yeah,
Africa, because Africa is kind of the continent which
why
still
not?
requires a lot of growth. But that also makes me think now, with the advent of all this artificial intelligence, like will there be a need for people in the
Yeah, I mean,
future?
I heard. Yeah, I mean, there's 3D printing. There's a lot of near sourcing stuff happening. You can go. Apparently, I don't know if actually they're doing this. You would know better than me, but Nike apparently, you can go into a shop and request in certain shops, concept shops, and you can request a certain type of sneaker with certain color, and apparently they'll make it for you. Is
Hmm.
that a concept? I'm not sure, but so manufacturing is also changing. But yeah, I think China, it will change. It will not just be China. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that will that will be that will be an interesting time where the consumer can buy I guess the plastic or the material that is used to create these products, and then basically what the companies are selling is the design, and you take the design and you basically create your own shoe in your
Yes.
home.
Yes. Exactly.
So yeah, very interesting. So what are your markets right now? So are you selling in North America? What is your biggest market right now?
Main market is the US. That's what we focused on, and it's still like 95% of our sales. Yeah.
Wow.
We yeah. We started selling a little bit in Europe, but more as a testing ground. US is our biggest market.
So why not Europe? I mean, I would assume that, as a Western market, like the whole UK and Europe would be would have a big uptake.
So I think the US still works very well for us. I don't think there is the same appetite for the stylist market is a bit different. It's more
Okay.
traditional. It's people who are employed and it's more locked up. I don't think you get the same number of home stylists as you do in the US. Fashion, the kind of blonde fashion that we're going for, is still more developed in the US,
Hmm.
which you can see on your TV screens than in Europe. So there's certain things, and then all our content, everything we've done is English. So it's very interesting. We obviously look at where we could go, and the markets which are interested, and who Google tells you where the viewer is coming from. They're all English speaking. Actually, it's England, Ireland, Australia,
Hmm.
even a bit South Africa. So I think in Europe, the UK would be the best potential market. I think also socially, English people are quite similar. Um, they have the same trends, the same desires. They read the same stuff. So I think the UK would be probably the most optimal thing. I mean, definitely we would be interested in other places in Europe. But I think US will still be very important for us. Yeah.
Um, how do you fulfill your orders? So, if you're selling mostly to the US, is the biggest sales channel your website, or are you selling like on Amazon as well? And how are you fulfilling? Are you shipping from UK, or do you have like warehouse in the US?
Yeah, so we have a couple of channels. Website is our biggest channel. We like to keep it that way, but we also sell on Amazon and Walmart.com.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a warehouse it's a third-party warehouse who we've been working with. We've had a number of warehouses, but most of them have been based in the LA area. So our warehouse is in LA, and we ship everything to the warehouse, stock it there, and then we fulfill from there.
Yeah.
So
Now
third
you
party web. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Have you had good experiences with them? Sometimes I hear horror stories.
Well, it's funny. We've been through in 8 years. We've been through one, two, three. This is our fourth fulfillment center.
Okay.
Um, Not that they were all bad. There was one horror story because we shifted just when COVID was breaking out,
Hmm.
and then there was one very poor choice we made. Apart from that, the other we were quite careful. We used one in the beginning who were very good, but then we decided in the end they were very good, but they were a little bit one size fits all. We
Hmm.
wanted uh, uh, I won't go into the details, but they sometimes delayed our website orders. They gave priority to Amazon customers, to Amazon across all their customer range. So sometimes our orders are getting a bit late. We were not very happy with the packaging because they had their own packaging. It was very cheap, nothing, but it was very flimsy. And our stuff arrived in not a very good condition. And we wanted it. We're not a luxury brand, but we wanted everything to be very, stand out. So we wanted our own boxing. So we moved to another warehouse. They were good as well, but it turned out a bit too expensive for our personal needs. They had some minimums which we didn't hit. We thought we'd been growing very fast up till then. Then suddenly our growth, just as we moved warehouse, our growth kind of slowed down, and we were not able to make those minimums. Were just really costing us a lot. So then we moved from their very good warehouse. They used FedEx, and they had superb deal on FedEx. But we moved. So then we went through one disaster during COVID, and then we settled down with that. So I think we've got a good warehouse. They're in line with what we want. So we're not looking to have the lowest cost. We want someone who be quite quality in terms of packing, make sure things go out. We have a lot of liquids, they go out in a plastic bag. So we want a warehouse so it's good for us that we have picking people who only do ugly duckling every day inside that warehouse. So it's kind of, you can get everything in the warehouse world. You can get someone who will just be cost down, and then you get us with the warehouse we've got. They divide customer by customer, and they can customize a little bit in terms of packing, way the things are going. If something is poorly packed and someone complains, we can go back and say, this order was looking like this. Can you please have a chat with the person who's picking to make sure this happens, that kind of thing. So yeah, we found someone who's, I think, the right balance of cost and quality. Yeah.
Okay, that's really great.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned in terms of your marketing, you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned Facebook and you mentioned influencers. And of course, with any marketing channel, I think there's because things are moving so fast, there's kind of like an expiration date to it. So things when they're new, they work really well, and then over time the effectiveness decreases. The big thing right now is TikTok, but I'm sure slowly TikTok is going to be so competitive as well that the effectiveness will decrease. But of course now there will be new technologies, of course, a lot of things coming up with AI, and Apple is coming up with new glasses and so forth. So can you talk a little bit about your marketing? How has it evolved since you started, and what is working now to really drive customer acquisition for you?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, things continuously change on the internet. So as I said in the beginning, 2016, Facebook and social media in general was really huge, and influencer or hairdressers who we partnered with, we still partner with them. That's how we work. We like to have hairdressers who use our stuff and show the techniques, the before and after. So it's not just like influencers saying this is a great product. It's actually working with the product and showing techniques and educating people on techniques. So that hasn't changed at all. The channels are not as good as they were, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, and we're on all of them. Some of them have never just worked for us. Twitter or TikTok has never been very huge for us. So we do everything, but we can see from Google Analytics that in 2016, literally 80% of purchases came off social media. At the moment, I think it's 5%. So that's not to say they don't go there and look at our brand and so on and so forth, but we don't find it work. So we still do it. I think you have to do it. That's how people are, one of the ways that people learn about brands, discovery. But we moved on gradually. We found that for us, organic traffic, from 2018, 2019, we've been working on organic, and it's now, I think, 85% of our traffic, and 50 or 60% of our purchases comes off organic traffic. So discovery of our brand through people putting in problems into their search, search bar. That is what we've been working with, and we've created blogs. All the videos which our hairdressers make are now available on our own website as well. So that's the kind of destination. So that's what's been the main, and I think there's people underestimate the kind of power of word of mouth. If you've got a good product and someone is very happy with the hair color, they will talk about it to their friends, whether it's through social, whether, I don't know how they're doing it, but they do talk to their friends. So that's probably there in the background. So organic is really very important for us. That's our principal method of acquiring new customers. But lately we've been, thinking again. Now we've been around for 8 years, and you get to the stage and you see on like Y Combinator, there's a lot of very good material, as you know, on the internet, advising people how to do growth marketing. And one of the things I've been learning is that retention is really, really important for growth. It's not just about acquiring new customers, it's about retaining. You get to a stage, if you take all the customers who bought from us in the last 8 years, it's far larger than any number of customers we're going to acquire in the next year.
For sure.
So, and our products are good. We know that. They're very well rated. We take care about that. So the game is to reactivate. Nothing changes. They liked our product. They bought it in 2016. And then maybe they bought it again in 2017 and 2018. There's a kind of decay. We've analyzed all that. So now we're trying to see how we call it resurrection, bring back from the so obviously the key thing in that is email. So I'm a great believer in email marketing. Done properly, it's huge. It's really huge. It's now 20% of our sales comes off email marketing. That's what Google says. What that means is coming off our existing customers, essentially.
Yeah.
Retention customers. So list management, and we find that if the email is good, like lately we started saying, okay, let's resurrect, let's resurrection project. Let's take the customers who bought off. We have various lists, and the numbers are very big. Let's send them. We can see from our email which are the best email subjects, which are the most performing emails. Let's send them our best email. And suddenly this customer hasn't been contacted in 4 years. They suddenly receive an email which is rather good. And now, even if the percentage conversion of these customers is very low, that number is so huge of the number of customers that block of customers, that list is so huge that even if the effectiveness is half of when you're, to the current customers, it makes a huge impact on this resurrection project, huge impact on email efficiency. So that's the kind of thing we've been doing. We're not a Netflix. We're not a subscription based. I don't really believe in that, because the whole point about hair color is choice and variety. And the woman says, okay, last time I did this, what, I'd like to try out this. It's now fall. I'd like to go a bit darker. I'd like to do, and we're a friend of that. That's what we believe in. So I've never gone for this, Dollar Shave Club, lock up the customer. I just don't believe in it. Of course, it'd be good for me financially, but I don't believe that's what the brand stands for. The brand is all about playing around and beauty and trying out this and that. So I never even tried that, which is very big. A few years, it's still very big. The kind of beauty box, lock up the customer and forget it. I never tried it because I don't believe in it. It doesn't work with my brand. So email is the only thing I can do. So that's what I've been working on. So there's a bit of things: Facebook, influencer, organic, and then now email. These are nothing very fancy, but these are the things I've been working on.
I mean, I know you're not a big fan of subscription, but to give your customers choice, like if you were to launch a beauty box or some sort of it could be not that, they're getting the same products every time. Right. They get the choice to select, 3 products that they want.
Very good point. You should come offline and do some consulting for me, because I have been, it's been back of the mind. I've got to figure out this. I need to figure it out. So do I say surprise, we will surprise you and give you I don't know what it is. But I get what you're saying. I think it's a very good thing, and I think I should do it. I'll make a note.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to test new things, right? I mean,
Yes,
something may work, something may not, but
absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm curious to know, like, when you're trying to resurrect those customers, like, is the string that you're pulling really kind of 30% off if you come back, or or is it more around like the product feature, or the value of the color, or the story behind it? Like, what is, you said you have like some best emails. what
Yes.
are the strings you're pulling?
What we follow, I'm not saying that that it's the only one, but I used I used various consultants, and they advised me very well. And what I was told was, for emails, I'm very passionate about emails. I should write some book of what my experience was. So our emails have no brand in it. There's no I'm sure you receive a lot of emails from companies, very beautiful branded, thanks for the offer. We have no branding. It's plain text emails written like a friend, always coming from one person who's our color trainer. Reader's Digest approach. There's always one person who they can relate to, and they're always related to problem solution. We never give price off in an email. We do. There are a couple of differences, but in general, that's our email. It's all about problem solution. So, and we send a lot of emails. So, so that's our policy. Yeah. That's what I found works. Yeah.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Because you're talking to.
Yeah. If someone sends you an email saying we got price off, will that really convince you, or will that make you even more careful? It's has to be a fantastic price off. I think I think it's better to stick with grabbing the person's imagination in another way. Yeah.
I think it depends on the target customer. I mean, the main, like, if you look at these clothing brands, right, or these big box fashion stores, their main e-commerce strategy is really related to pricing, right? So I think every consumer, most consumers, even myself, like, I don't buy anything retail price, like list price. I would only buy a product when it goes on sale, which happens now, I find, is very frequently. Like, it's every other weekend, they are sending out sale emails. So I think I almost feel like, for certain categories, like especially for clothing or shoes, or these kind of categories, it's almost foolish to pay full price, because they're discounting it so much. The full price is like you're getting scammed.
No, but yeah, I accept what you're saying, but careful. Are you think about it? If how should I say this? Let's say yeah, we all look for the best deal, right? Let's say you decided you want to buy a pair of Yeezy sneakers. You open your browser button, you'll search, you'll find the first one, and then you'll open the next one, and you'll open the next one, and the next one. And for those Yeezy sneakers, which you've already decided, I'm giving a slightly simplistic example, you will then go with the cheapest price. Yeah. So if you want a pair of Banana Republic, whatever it is, Banana Republic doesn't exist anymore, but if you want a Swatch watch, you will look for the cheap Swatch watch. They control the distribution. Again, not a very good example, but you will try and find the cheapest price once you've decided the product and the brand. So that's products and brands which don't control their distribution necessarily very well. And these days, brands are getting better and better. They don't just bang it into wholesale. You will get that, but you won't get it that much. So if you take Apple or Nike and many brands these days, they control their distribution really, really well. So I accept what you're saying once you've given the product, but I think before that, if you back out, it may not be the price that takes you to the actual decision of the product to buy.
Yeah, if somebody is in a specific brand, then I think pricing decision is a lower factor.
Yes,
But
and
by
then
the
we
way,
control our distribution in the same way. So we make sure that we're never undercut on our website or on it's all parallel. You can't and even the discounts we give, we make sure, we would not sell to someone who undercuts us and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's pretty clean in that sense. Yeah.
by the way, interesting thing. Recently, I saw for the first time, I think actually, I saw an Apple ad trying to promote selling Apple products, and Apple was notoriously known for not doing marketing, right? They're such a strong brand. So I was thinking, are they in trouble now? But that they have to resort to marketing. Like, I do think that their value proposition, like previously it used to be every product launch, they have like a new product or, such a strong set of features that they're coming out with that's new, but now it's a really small incremental improvement. So I think they have to now go the marketing route.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that brings me to other point is like, the thing that you were saying about product and the quality of product. I think if the product is good, that's really a big long-term strategy. Marketing can only take you so far, but if people like the product, they will search you out and really want to buy it.
Yeah.
In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. What has been like a big failure or mistake or a lesson learned that you kind of learned throughout your entrepreneurial journey that looking back you think, if that hadn't happened, maybe that was best for the business? What was the lesson learned, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your mistakes?
So I've launched a few Dud products, but I don't count that as a mistake in the sense that if you're launching products, 1 out of every 5 is going to be dud. So you can't always get it right. So I will discount that one. I think the main thing which I would have done differently would have been to be a little bit more, because I'm a self-funded entrepreneur, and I kind of went it very gung-ho optimistic way and flung a lot of money as soon as things started to work. I flung a lot of money, a lot of my own money, savings. So, and in the process, I sold my apartment and various other things, and that was quite stressful. It is still stressful. So I had to spend a lot of money because I was a very gung-ho. I was just throwing money to go as fast as possible. I think you have to be careful what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be, put a presentation together and get traction and then try and get funding, then there may be some reason for just trying to get that traction so you can demonstrate to other people that you've got traction, and then you want funding to go bigger. And that's very, valid way of doing it. But it's not what I was doing. I was trying to create a business which would be profitable and cash positive and stable. That was what I was doing. So in that context, I could have been a bit more careful, and I regret that. It's definitely money, quite a lot of money I wasted, which I couldn't really afford to waste, to be quite honest. Yeah, I would say that's a bit of corporate background. It's L'Oreal. You can just go for it. Nobody noticed the dollars spent. People just look at the results. But it's a bit different when it's your own money and you've got to survive with your family.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's kind of one of the lessons that come up again and again is around cash flow management. It's like even if you have a working business, if the cash flow is not being managed properly, that can really impact the business. So now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions. You have to answer them maybe in a couple of words or a sentence or so. The first one is one book that you would recommend to entrepreneurs, and why?
So I've got it here. It's called, I'm not sure if you can see it. It's called Traction. Do you know this book? You probably
I have heard of it, yeah, for sure.
It's a very well-known book. I think it's a great book. It's no matter how much supposedly I've been in marketing for 20 years, but it really summarizes quickly and very clearly all the different marketing possibilities you have, and takes you through and allows you to kind of go for the jugular in deciding how to do your marketing. So a book I would recommend.
Awesome. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
So I had a bit of difficulty with it. I think in general, we're in a very interesting space in e-commerce because we went through the whole of COVID, which was a boom for most e-commerce people. We went through a post-COVID winter, a nuclear fallout, when it went exactly the other way, when the world was opening up. We went through huge dislocation in fulfillment and freight. We've been through big inflation. So we ourselves, we put up our prices, and now we're back to profitability again. So it's huge changes along the way. And along the way, I'm sure many e-commerce people just didn't make it. I actually think things are settling down now. This has not been a particularly spectacular year from what I see, what Stripe sells from e-commerce. Values have gone up, volumes are fairly stable. You would probably know better than that. But I actually think things are settling down now, and the future is not going to go away. I think e-commerce will grow very substantially over the next 10 years. So it is a very, very good place to be, provided you're on top of, you've made it through all this. So it's not a specific idea, but I just feel quite bullish about the whole industry in general.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think the convenience that the e-commerce brings to consumers is really, and it's going to become more and more global as we go.
Yes.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
So a productivity tip I did very recently is to turn off my phone and have in a different room in my bedroom from my bedroom. I just did wonders for I was having real issues with sleep. It's not easy being an e-commerce entrepreneur, I'm sure, or any kind of entrepreneur. Everything is there on your phone, right?
Yeah.
How many sales, everything there. And I was just getting crazy. I was just getting sick of it, like waking up, checking my phone. I have an iPad, and I'm not non-technology. I have an iPad, so I can browse to my heart's content. But this iPad is not connected with my Stripe and my Amazon and my Walmart. I just don't know. And it's just perfect. I don't even want to wake up. I don't even want to see that stuff until I wake up and had my first cup of tea. So that's my productivity. It makes me much better and in a better mood for the rest of the day.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Stripe is definitely, it gives you the dopamine hit, right? Like when you see the order come in, it's like cha-ching.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. A startup or business that you think is currently doing great things?
Well, it's not very original. I think the whole world is looking at Elon Musk, and I think it's inspiration. I notice my children, if you look at children, they don't talk about Steve Jobs or Bill Gates and all that's history. Even Elon Musk. I think what's amazing about him is the way he's gone into successive fields. There's clearly something he's doing right, and whatever field he goes in such a depth and makes a success out of it. So yeah, I find that very very, very inspirational, and I like that kind of engineering side of it, because I think people are always making apps and things like that, but I like the fact that he actually makes SpaceX. He makes a car at the right car at the right price. I like that kind of making things. So there's a couple of things I like that. I also like the fact that people are always saying test and measure, and he just took Twitter, $40 billion brand, and he just changed the name without testing anything. So I like this kind of gut feel, bravado, and going in and doing things. I find it quite inspirational.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk definitely. He is very intelligent and very mission driven, and yeah. Now, of course, he has so much business experience as well. So definitely on a different playing field. Last question. What is the best business advice that you have ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
I think it would have to be stay on top of your cash. Be very aware of the cash. plan your cash. It's not a joke going into business. There's so much startup literature which talks about everything apart from survival. So I think very important to do that. I, in the end, to be very honest with you, I had a lot of fairly distinct, advantage of starting a business relatively late in life. I had some savings, I had a couple of apartments, I had some money, but the disadvantage is your expenses are very high because I've got kids who are in school, and so I can't survive on $3,000 a month. It's not possible. Cash is really, really important. And you'd be surprised, the number of entrepreneurs I know, they keep very quiet about it, but the number of entrepreneurs who've had to be bailed out by their mother or by their parents-in-law or by somebody else is really, really large. So that would be my advice.
No, I mean, that's a great advice. And surprisingly, a lot of the entrepreneurs that I talk to, like, this is probably one of the most frequently repeated advice
Is that so?
Exactly.
Is that so?
So yeah, especially like entrepreneurs who are doing it for the first time, and they're going through that startup phase. I think many times entrepreneurs kind of get stuck with the cash flow issue. So that's I hear this so many times. Yeah.
The ideal thing is if your wife is working, if one of you is working, there has to be, then makes it much more comfortable. And then you can just say to your wife, look, I'm starting this, give me 8 to 10 years, let me figure this out. And that would be
probably not what the wife wants to hear. But well, Ishaan, thank you so much. Those were all the questions that I had. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing a little bit about hair styling industry, and also your business lessons. If anybody wants to check out your products, what is the best way to do that?
Just go online, www.uglyducklingcolor.com. And then you can also look at social media, and but just go online to our website. There's a lot of stuff there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again, Ishaan. Really appreciate it. And I wish you all the very best in your business journey.
My total pleasure. Okay. Nice speaking to you, Ishan.
Likewise.